Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Brian Doherty and I am a NetSuite Solutions Consultant for OSSM, a NetSuite solution provider based in Dublin. Today I will guide you through creating and editing saved searches. What are saved searches? Well, saved searches are a way to display transactional and static information that has already been entered into NetSuite. Saved searches are effectively the backbone of a lot of NetSuite reporting, and they are omnipresent throughout the system. When you access a list of customers or vendors, you effectively are looking at a saved search. When you display a list of sales orders or customers, you are using a saved search. Saved searches can be displayed and linked to your dashboard, so that's one of the big advantages of them. You create your saved search in the background and then you can use them in multiple different ways. So the saved searches can be displayed and linked to your dashboard. You can link saved search, links to saved searches can be added to your shortcuts portlet. You can show results in a custom search portlet. Saved searches can also be defined as custom KPIs. And also they can be used to create reminders in the reminders portlet. So what will we be covering today? So today we'll take a look at creating a few different types of saved search. To begin with, we will create a saved search that will be used to create a list of overdue invoices. And we'll also look at how the results can be emailed to the customers on a scheduled basis. And we'll be creating this saved search from scratch. Then we'll create a saved search to show opportunities by sales rep. And finally, we will look at how to create a search to display by how much a customer is over their credit limit. We will use a simple formula to create the value for the overs. And in this case, we'll be editing an existing saved search as opposed to creating one from scratch. And then finally, we will look at adding the saved searches to the dashboard. Okay, so we'll get into it now. So we'll start looking at how we create our saved searches. So the first one we're going to look at is, in this scenario, we'll be creating a saved search that will display invoices that are more than 30 days overdue. And then we'll look at how we can then email the results to the customer on a scheduled basis. And we'll be looking at invoices where the customer has not made a promise to pay that invoice in advance. So to create the saved search, we're going to go to Lists, Search, Saved Searches, and New. So this saved search has been created from customer invoices, which are transactions. So we're going to go to the transactions table. So we'll go down our list, and these are in alphabetic order, and we'll go to transactions. And this will then bring us in to where we can create our saved search. So the first thing you should do is give the saved search a name. And it's good to give it a name that you'll remember or that'll be easy to find in the future. I'm going to just call it Web Invoices over 30 days. The system will automatically give the saved search an internal ID. We can decide whether we want to make this saved search public, which means that other people can see and use it. So in this case, I'm going to do that. Whether we can use it as a list view so that it's available for people to query, whether we can put it on our dashboard as a view, and we're going to do that, and we'll look at that later. Whether it's a sublist, can be used as a sublist view, and again we'll say yes. So what that will allow you to do is to use this as a list within other records. And if it can be used as a reminder, again we're going to use that, and we'll see how to add it as a reminder at a later stage as well. And then whether we want to show it in the menu. And we'll say yes. So that will mean that if we go to Reports, Saved Searches that will appear in this menu here, or you can put it into another category within a menu. The three main areas of a saved search are the criteria, the results, and the available filters. So the criteria will allow you to limit the results that will be displayed from the search. So this is what will actually be listed when you look at this saved search. The results are the information that will be displayed when the saved search is run, and the filters allow us to refine the results that have been displayed after the saved search has been run. So there would be the three main areas in every saved search. So I always start with the criteria, which limits the information that we want to actually see within our saved search. So in this case, I'm looking for a transaction type of invoice because we're looking at the sales invoices. So I'm going to choose my first filter to be type. And within that, I'm going to choose, we have a list of all our various different transaction types, and we can search at the top for a particular type. So I know I'm looking for an invoice, and I'm going to put that over to the right-hand side. I'm happy with that. You can do a multi-select here, so you can report on multiple different types of transactions if that's relevant. I'll say done and set. So we've created our first criteria. The next one I'm going to add is mainline. And what this effectively is asking you is if you want to produce a saved search of summary information or detailed information. In this case, I'm going to say mainline is true, or we're going to click yes here, which means that I'm going to look at the summary information of the transaction, so the header information, the totals. If I said no, it would give me multiple lines per invoice. If you have multiple lines in your invoice, it'll show those multiple lines with it, in the results of the saved search. So I'm going to say set. The next one I'm going to do is status. So in this case, I only want to see invoices that are open. So again, I can choose from here, so I can look for all the invoice statuses, and I'm going to choose open. So you can see the other ones here. So I only want to see invoices that are still open and have yet to be paid. So I say set. The next criteria I'm going to look at is the due date. And this one is the pivotal one really within the saved search. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that it's on or before, and relative means relative to today's date. So I'm going to say that I'm looking for anything that is overdue on or before 30 days ago. So it's basically looking at anything that is 30 days overdue. And the next one I'm going to add is promised to pay. Now in this case, I have created, so I'm going to say promise to pay no. I've created a custom field on the invoice, and we'll take a look at that at a later stage. That will allow me to tell whether the invoice has been paid or there is a promise to pay on that invoice or not. So now I've set my criteria. So this is going to limit the information that is displayed within the saved search. Next, I'm going to move on to the results. So when we go in here into the results, we're going to see a lot of fields that we actually don't want to use. So I'm going to get rid of all the fields that I don't need. So I'm just going to click on the individual field that I don't want, and I'm going to go remove. So there are a lot here that I need to remove. So it's just a matter of going down through them and choosing the ones that you want to get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of all these fields here. Otherwise, our saved search may be a little confusing. So I'm nearly there now, and I'm going to leave the promise to pay field. I'm going to remove these final ones here. So at any point during the process, if you want to test what your results are going to be, you can choose to preview. And this will give you an indication of what your saved search is going to look like. And then if I return the criteria, it brings me back to the saved search that I've been creating. In this case here, we're going to, within available filters, I don't need to add filters to this at this point. We'll look at adding filters in a later example. So the next tab we look at is the audience. And the audience tab determines who can actually see and use the saved search. So in this case, I've said that we're going to let everybody really use it, so all roles within the organization or within NetSuite. But what we can do is I can choose particular roles that will want, so this may only be relevant to the accounting roles or the AR role, so you don't want all other users to be able to use or see this. But in this case here, I'm just going to say all. You can choose if you have multiple subsidiaries. If you're in a one-word environment, you can choose that it's only available to a particular subsidiary. Maybe departments, you can limit by groups, you can give access to particular employees and particular partners. The roles tab, if I go to roles, we can decide who has access again, so which roles, and if this is their preferred saved search when they're looking for invoices. And that brings us to email. So this tab here allows us to create a schedule for sending this saved search on an email on a scheduled basis. So the first items here, we've got send emails according to schedule, and we're going to do that, and we'll set the schedule in a few seconds. We're going to summarize the scheduled emails. So what that enables is that if we left that item unticked, what would happen is each invoice would be sent. So if you had a customer with multiple invoices outstanding, each invoice would be sent on an individual email. By taking the summarized scheduled emails, that means that all transactions for a particular customer within that saved search will be sent on one email. And I've unticked send if no results. You don't want to be sent an email if there are no results to the customer. So this is who we're going to send the email to. If you have specific recipients, so maybe you have somebody within your accounts department that you want to have included on these emails, then you can put their email address in here. If you go recipients from results, this is who we're going to actually email. So this is how we pick up the customer email. So if we go to the customer fields and we choose email. So that's the main email address on the customer account. And then we can add a customized message. So you can put who the saved search email is coming from. You can add a subject. And you can put in some text here. So you can say hi. Or if you don't want to type this in, or you want to have a more interactive message, you can use HTML scripting to create the message. And then this is how the information is going to display within the email. So you can send them as a CSV file, send as a Microsoft Excel file, or send as a PDF. what I'm going to do is I'm going to send within the message. So you'll have your introduction, and then you'll have your list of outstanding invoices. And I'm not going to include a link to the record because customers will not have access to your NetSuite. I'm going to go next to schedule, and this is how we schedule when the emails are going to be sent. So I'm going to say it's going to be a weekly event, and I'm going to send it every Wednesday at 9 a.m. at 9 a.m. in the morning. So you could choose to send this a couple of times a week, or you could just send it once a week. You can also send it as a monthly event, a yearly event, or you can send it daily, or you can just do it for one single event, so the email would only be sent once. You can choose to put in an end date, or in my case, I'm just going to say there's no end date. So the email, this Saved Search will run and create the emails until I tell it to stop. So at this stage, I have all the information on the Saved Search that I require. So I'm going to save. So I'm going to save the Saved Search. And we can see now the information that is returned. So this is a list of invoices that are more than 30 days overdue. So from this Saved Search, we can view and edit the invoice. So we're going to go in and have a look at one of the invoices. And we can see I've got this column, which is promise to pay. So all these invoices, at this point, there is no promise to pay on any of them. So what we can do is we'll go in and we'll set promise to pay on one of these invoices. So we'll look at this one here. And if I go to this invoice here, we can see we've got a little checkbox here for promise to pay. So if I click on that and I say save, that's an invoice for the 12th of the 3rd, 2020, invoice 231. And what we should notice when we go back and refresh our Saved Search is that, so it's this one here. But that invoice no longer exists on our Saved Search. So that was just, we created a little tick box and we just used that tick box that's on the invoice as a criteria. So what we also can do is, if I go to edit this search, and this is very useful on Saved Searches because it highlights information that may be important or that you need to action. So what we can do is we can put highlighting onto our Saved Search. So in this case, I'm going to highlight any invoices that are more than, for a value of more than 10,000. So I'm going to set the filter here. So I'm going to filter by the amount. And I'm going to say any greater than 10,000 euros. So I'm going to set, and then I'm going to look at what I'm going to do from a highlighting point of view. So I'm going to set the text as black and the background as red. I'm going to say add. So if I go save now, we can see our invoices that are greater than 10,000 euros are highlighted. So within our Saved Search, we also can sort on any of the columns that are within the Saved Search. So if I click on amount, it resorts it in ascending order. And if I click on it again, it'll sort in descending order. So we can see in this case my highlighting coming into play. So that takes me to my next example, and in this example we will look at summarizing the information within a saved search using the group, sum and count summary types. So again, we're going to create this saved search from scratch, and we're going to use the opportunities table to create the saved search. So I go to list, search, save search, and new. I'm going to look for my opportunities table. And again, this brings me into the screen that we've seen earlier. I'm going to give it a title that means something. And like before, I'm going to make it public, and I'm going to tick all these boxes as well, because we might use this later to add to our dashboards and reminders and sublists. So if I go to the results, I can see the results that are suggested to me, and I can limit or move the information whatever way I want, or I can remove the information. So I'm not interested in these last three fields, and I want to see the customer and the sales rep as the first two fields. So I can click into the customer field, I'll move it to the top, and if I go to the sales rep, I'm going to move it to just below the customer field. So if I preview that information now, we can see the information that will be, if we didn't add any grouping to it, this is the information that would be given to us. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to group this information based on the sales rep. I'm going to have a total of the projected totals by sales rep. So if we go back to our saved search and go to results, we're going to say we want to group by sales rep, and we want the projected total. We want a sum on the projected total. So if we now preview to look at the effect of those two simple steps, and we can see now that our saved search has vastly changed. So we can see it's now grouped by the sales reps, and we've got the total number, the total value of opportunities by each individual sales rep. The other thing to remember is that when you do grouping and summing like this, it's always possible to drill down into the details that make up those values. So if I click on Morgan Joseph, we can drill down into the detail that underlies the summary values. So now we'll just look at a different way of grouping. So if I return to the criteria again, so this will bring me back to my saved search. And if I go to the results, so what we're going to do now is we're going to group by the opportunity, and we're going to count the amount of we're going to group by the opportunity status, and we're going to look at the number of opportunities within each status. So I'm going to remove the grouping from the sales rep, and I'm going to remove the total from the project total. So in this case, we're going to go to group the opportunity status, and we're going to group by opportunity status, and we're going to go to the transaction number. So when you're doing a count, you have to do a count on a field that is unique to that transaction to get a true number, to count the number of individual transactions within our group. So we're going to take the transaction number, which is the opportunity number, and we're going to do a count on that. What we also can do here, as an aside, we can change the label that's on the field. So when we look at our saved searches now, the headers or the labels on the fields are the names of the fields. But if you want to change that, you can go into custom label. And add our own label to the field. So if we save that now, we can see again from a couple of simple changes, we've really changed the information that's one saved search has given us. So this is now telling us that the quantity of opportunities at each individual status. And again, we can drill down into that information to see the detail behind it. So if I go back to edit the search, and we'll look at how to use highlighting again. So the first thing, I want to look at a detailed report. So I am going to remove my grouping and count. And in this case, I want to highlight the opportunities that we have lost. So if I go to highlighting, I go to the condition. I'm looking at the opportunity status. And I'm going to look at, I want to highlight those that we've lost in that period of time. And we'll set that status. And we'll set. And in this case, we're going to choose how we're going to display the highlighting. So I'm going to put the text in yellow, and we'll put the background color in black. And we can bold if we like as well. So I'm going to add, and I am going to save. So now we can see how the highlighting works and how it makes the relevant information stand out on that saved search. So if we sort by the opportunity status, then we can see our close lost status coming to the top. But it's also important to realize from within the saved search, we can do inline editing. So if I turn on inline editing, so if I've turned off, we can't edit in this when the saved searches, when the inline editing is turned off, we can't edit. If I turn on inline editing, we can see the fields that we can edit through the saved search. And the advantage of this is that if you want to do edit a lot of records, you can edit them within this without going in and out of individual records. So we can see the fields that we are able to edit. So if I click on any of the sales reps, this will allow me to change the sales rep on the opportunity. Or if I wanted to change the projected total, I can do that also. Or if I wanted to change the opportunity status, we can do that also from within the list. So it vastly speeds up the amount of time to edit records. Once you tab off the field after editing, that will be saved to the record. So the next item we're going to move on to is editing an existing saved search. So within this one, we're going to add a formula to show how far the customer balance exceeds the credit limit. And we'll also highlight those that are over the credit limit And we'll also look at adding a filter for subsidiary. So if you're in one world, you might just want to limit information by subsidiary. So in this case, we're going to use an existing search. So we're going to I'm going to use one of the customer searches. So I'm going to go to lists, relationship, customers, and we're going to edit the customer financial saved search. Now, you've got a list of saved searches here that relate to the customer. So, and they all give us slightly different information, and we can change our saved searches from the drop-down list within view. But in this case here, I want to use the financial one because it's got the most relevant information for me. So I'm going to go into customize view. And again, we've got a lot of fields here that I don't need. So I'm going to start removing some of these fields. So we'll remove most of the fields that I don't need. And then what I can do is I'll just go up to where I want to insert my formula. So at this point, I'm going to insert a new field, and it's a formula field. So in this case, when we are adding an existing one, if I go formula, we'll be unable to find the ability to create a formula within this area. So what we need to do is go to more options, and that gives us an extended or a more rounded way of building our saved search. So I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to insert my new formula field. And in this case, I'm doing a numeric formula. So I'm going to, the result of this formula is going to be a numeric value. Say OK. So I'm going to now add my formula. So this is going to be a simple formula. So we choose the fields that we want to use in the formula. The first field I'm going to use is the credit limit. So I'm looking to see how far over the credit limit our balance is. So I'm going to say minus, and we're going to choose the balance field. And I'm going to say set. And I'm going to give it a custom label because otherwise the label will be formula numeric. I'm just going to say over. So we'll say OK. And when you're editing an existing saved search, you need to give it a new name. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a saved search called custom and the name of the original search. Again, coming back to the way we looked at this before, I'm going to make it public, and I'm going to make it available for list views and reminders. Also, we can determine how we're going to sort the results when they're displayed. So at the moment, it's sorting by name. What we can do, we can change that. And we can say that we want to sort it by balance. And then you can have subsorts or nested sorts within this. You can also include totals. So you can have totals at the bottom of your report as well if you wanted to. So we're going to save this now. And we can then see what the results are. So if I go to my overs and resort, we can see anything with a negative is over the credit limit. So the credit limit has been exceeded. So if I go back and edit the view and go to more options, and we do some highlighting again, I'm going to remove the existing highlight because it's not relevant to this saved search that I'm creating. I'll remove it. And what I'm going to do is use my formulas again. So I'm going to go to Formula, Numeric, and I'm going to add the fields like we did previously. So credit limit minus balance. So what I want to do is highlight the items that where the balance has exceeded the credit limit. So I'm going to say less than 0. So I'm going to go set, and then I can add my highlighting colors. So I'm going to again do yellow with a background of black. And we can go save. So again, our highlighting comes into play here. From within the saved search, it's also possible to edit and view a record and perform some tasks on the record, like email the customer, do a new invoice. So similar to what can be done from within the record, you can do from the saved search as well. And if you notice here, we've also got customer dashboards available here as well. So the last thing we're going to look at is adding a filter to the saved search. So I'm going to edit the view again. I'm going to go to available filters, and I want to add a filter for subsidiary. And on the customer record, the name of that field is the primary subsidiary. So I want to show it in the filter region of the results. And I also want to make it a multi-select so we can choose one or more subsidiaries. So I'll add that field and I'll save. And we can see we now have a filter for subsidiary. So if I choose one subsidiary, then the results will change because it's only displaying the results for that subsidiary. So that's just looking at adding a filter to a saved search. So the next thing we'll take a look at, and that sort of takes us to using those saved searches on our dashboards. So to display the information in a more visible place. So if I go back to my home screen, I'm now looking at my dashboard, and my dashboard is comprised of a number of portlets. So we're going to use those saved searches that we created to display on our dashboard. So to add, the first one we're going to look at is the reminders portlet. So to add a portlet to your dashboard, we're going to go to personalize, and we're looking for the reminders portlet. So this is my reminders portlet. I'll click on that, and that pops into our dashboard on the top left-hand side. And the reminders portlet gives us reminders of tasks or things that we need to complete. So if I go to setup, we can see the various ones that have already been included. So I'm just going to get rid of a couple so we can X them to get rid of them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the ones that we created, and we can see them down below. So if I go web invoices over 30 days and add that in, and I now save, we can see a reminder for those invoices. And again, another nice thing in relation to this is that if I click on that, it brings me directly to my saved search and shows me the information that underlies that reminder. If I go to the setup of the reminders portlet again, I can move this up into the highlighted or headline section of my reminders. So this just gives it a little more focus. So if I say save, we can see that it's now in the reminders, in the headline section, and it's a little bigger than the other reminders. We can also add a little more focus to that particular reminder. So we can go and we can edit that particular reminder, and we can add some highlighting rules. So what we can say is that we can change the color here, and we can say that if the total number of outstanding invoices is greater than 100, we want to show it in green. So we can add a little more highlighting to the actual reminders portlet as well. So the next one we're going to look at is we're going to look at how to add the search directly to our screen here, so directly to our dashboard. And what we're going to be adding is a portlet for a custom search. So like before, we're going to go to personalize, and we have an option here for custom search. So we'll add that to our dashboard, and then we have to set up that custom search portlet. So if I go to setup, and it's asking me which search am I going to display. And in this case, I'm going to add the web opportunities. I can change the title that's going to be displayed in the portlet. I can determine the number of transactions that are going to show within this portlet. And then I can say save. And that will display that saved search on our dashboard. Another way of displaying the saved search or accessing the saved search to the dashboard is by using our shortcuts portlet. So again, if we go to add the shortcuts portlet, and then what we can do is we can go to our search. So we need to go into the search. Then we go to the shortcuts icon, and we go add to shortcuts. We can change the name here if we like, and we say save. So if I go back to my dashboard, and we can now see that that shortcut is added to our shortcuts portlet. So those are a few ways that we can add our saved searches to our dashboard to give easier access. And this could be done, you can change your portlets by role, or you can change them for each individual. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my presentation. And today we looked at creating new saved searches, editing an existing saved search, and adding those saved searches to the dashboard. I really hope that you have found this presentation useful. Remember, saved searches are at the heart of reporting within NetSuite and can be a very powerful tool to use. So if you have any questions or any queries at all, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us using the information below.